What's up, guys? We're back with another NECA Toon TMNT review, taking a look at one of those pre-orders that went up, I don't know, like 6-7 months ago, roughly. I don't remember at this point. But we're taking a look at the Ultimate Pizza Monster. So this is a single pack release, not a 2-pack. That's going to be exclusive to Target whenever it hits retail stores, which I guess is going to be soonish. I don't think he's popped up as of this recording. Being an Ultimate style figure, it comes in that VHS themed kind of packaging. So we've got a cover here that showcases the monster with Michelangelo in the sewers. You've got the NECA logo done up in the FHE style font. This one's called Another One Bites the Crust. It's volume number 7. And then the back of the box gives us a write-up for what happens in this particular episode, which I do really like for these. We don't really see that a lot with the 2-packs. And then you've got some product shots, and then a little bit of more cartoon artwork with Shredder, Human Baxter, and then some of the babies. So I do like that. I love the presentation on these. It's very cool, very nostalgic, which it gets me. And then being an Ultimates release, you can pop it open. You've got a huge product shot of the monster here on the inside flap, and then you've got the big window that showcases that big yellow, obviously xenomorph in the Toon Turtles world on the inside. So let's do it. Let's pull them out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our NECA Ultimate Pizza Monster. This is a really, really wild figure, honestly. There is a lot of stuff going on here, mostly from just a design standpoint and a size standpoint, because this thing is kind of weird in the show. It's one of those things that, like, one frame it looks one way, another frame it looks very different. Like its size fluctuates, its overall look kind of fluctuates in the, the single episode that it appears in. So this is one of those things where NECA tried to do whatever they could to make it as cohesive as possible, where it looks very close to the cartoon while kind of being, maybe not necessarily how it looks every second in the show, but this is pretty much the way it looks. And I think they did a really solid job bringing this guy to life because, I don't know, I didn't think this was ever going to be a thing, so it's kind of a fun figure to just be able to get a hold of. It does have one weird thing about it in terms of articulation that I'm still not sure if it is or isn't a problem. Like, I'm really having a hard time pinning it down. So let's see what it can do, see how it moves around. It's very much a NECA thing. Like, this is very much a NECA figure. You can just tell by looking at it, the joint structure, but it's also like very different in the concepts of this line. So you've got a head that, I mean, all the way up. Like, there's nothing in the way of this head. A lot of that is because of the neck. Like, the neck, I mean, look at this thing. It's moving all over the place. So it goes all over, it goes side to side. It looks, I mean, look how far down it looks. That's pretty crazy. And then, of course, the head itself rotates up there. You've got really good tilt, like broken neck kind of tilt, basically. So tons of movement, very dynamic head, if that makes sense. We've got an articulated jaw, which opens like super wide. So that's really cool. Arms go out at the shoulder, of course. They will rotate. You've got those kind of telltale NECA double jointed elbows, kind of like looks like a banana almost here. And then you've got rotation there. We've also got hinges and rotation at the wrist. Normal stuff, really. You've got your diaphragm cut here. So it goes backwards. It goes backwards. I'm not really sure it's truly going backwards. It's basically just like sort of standing straight up, but it uses it as a way to lurch forward, which is important for this thing in particular because, it's a xenomorph, basically. Like, let's be honest, that's what it is. And then you've got some tilt, but it's also your rotation point as well. Legs on it go all the way out, so you could have it do the sewer splits if you want. Kick forward all the way. Kick backward far more than you need. You can twist up here at this joint. We've got the NECA double jointed knees down here. I'm not exactly the happiest with the way that looks. It's not the most attractive joint, but it's functional. You've got rotation at the top of the knee there. And then the ankles. This is where things are kind of weird. I have 3 of these right now. You'll see them later in pictures and stuff like that. I've got 3 of them. So far, all of them have been the exact same in that they hinge just fine. Like, they kick forward, they kick backwards really good. Like, you can get them to lurch backwards really nicely. But they don't rock very well at all. I've heated all of them up. And like, they just rubber band almost right back. Like, you can get them to go, but I swear I feel like I'm going to hurt it. I've heated it up. It wants to go, but I just don't think it's going to stick all that well. Like, this one's kind of doing it okay at the moment. but it's taken a lot of heat just to make it work, in the sense that I just don't think it's going to be a very usable joint. Like, I'm very worried that it's going to break. I tried to check other reviews, you know, something I normally don't do, to see if in fact it does work, and a lot of folks seem to think that it doesn't really rock all that well. I saw someone who just ripped it right off because theirs was stuck in the package. So if anything, whether it does or doesn't, I mean, it definitely can, but it might give you some trouble. Heat it up. If you are even remotely concerned about the ankles on yours when it comes to rocking them side to side, heat them up. Don't force it. And then lastly, you've got your tail, which is a big old ball peg, so it can rotate in this socket, and then side to side, up and down. And then of course you've got a bendy wire here too, so it can go up and then, or, you know, any direction really. Send it all the way around. It bends pretty well. Like, that's pretty good arch on it right there. Not bad. Move that arm out of the way. So it does work really nicely. Of course, I would be concerned about some of that paint maybe cracking over time, but for the most part, this thing is really, really well articulated. Like, you can get it into some very cool poses, you know, specifically some that are like really menacing, where he's looking down on a turtle, or, you know, up screaming, or, you know, slashing, stuff like that. So there's a lot of posability with this guy. It's, like I said, it's a very telltale NECA figure, but it also seems to be a little bit more dynamic than a lot of figures in this line, just based on how it's constructed. And then as far as the overall aesthetics, the design on this guy, very happy. This is where I think they absolutely nailed it 100%. This is a very, very solid entry in the cartoon line. I think they did a really solid job, again, of interpreting this thing, something that does kind of change, you know, from animation style to animation style in that episode, into one singular thing. And it looks great. Like, the yellow is super bright and vibrant. Of course, you know, it's cut down the half, so it's brown on the back to make it look cast in shadow, and then it's super bright yellow on the front, but all of the musculature and like the exoskeleton on it is outlined in black, and then there's tons of this white stripes all over it to indicate highlights. So of course, you know, like lights hitting it from the front, and then it's cast in shadow on the back. It is, again, a very large figure. It's not the biggest in the line, but it's certainly up there. You know, Chrome Dome is, of course, the barrier for entry when it comes to being the tallest in the line. But this thing is absolutely massive. It's a huge figure. Of course, we'll do some size comparisons, but it's a really crazy design. And, you know, it's obvious, again, it's obvious it's a xenomorph. That's where the inspiration for this thing came from, just based on everything about the design. But it lends itself really well to being this crazy action figure. Like, it's just a fun toy. Weird ankle pivot notwithstanding, it's a fun toy. It's got these crazy lanky arms, this big monstrous tail, and then of course, you know, this huge, huge head sculpt, which I think is really what kind of drives it home for me when it comes to the cool factor and the fun factor on this guy, because the head is massive. It is kind of heavy, you know, this figure is very top heavy to begin with, but there's like all this character up here. Like, you can have its mouth closed where it's like snarling at you, and it's got those black pupilless eyes, but you can have the mouth open where it's screaming. You've got the tongue painted in there. All those huge individually sculpted and painted teeth look just amazing. And then of course the huge ridged head, which, you know, again, obviously a xenomorph reference, but I think it looks really awesome. It's a really cool idea as far as how it was implemented in the show. It was a really funny thing to, you know, give this sort of homage to aliens, and I think it's a fun toy. It works really well in the Toon line because of its exaggerated proportions, its bright cartoony color scheme, and just overall NECA truly just knocked it out of the park. There's a reason why I got 3 of them. It's not just because, you know, I needed more because of what was in the episode, but because I was so certain that they were going to really nail this one. And I think that bet paid off, because this is probably one of the coolest looking Toon figures in quite a while. And then, of course, as far as size comparisons go, well, we've got our Pizza Monster here in the middle. We've got our Toon Disguise Leo here on the right. And, I mean, he's absolutely dwarfed by him, so it's a great size disparity there. And then for a really big figure, you know, here we've got the Super 7 Ultimate Bebop for a size comparison. So our monster is a little bit taller. Bebop is obviously a lot bulkier, but this is a big figure. Like, he's definitely, like, you know, one of the largest in the Toon line. And then as far as maybe some other lines, you know, let's just throw another different kind of turtle in there. Here is, for a Hasbro comparison, here's a Hasbro turtle, because everybody has turtles, right? So there's our morphed MMPR Raphael. Then we'll do a Mythic Legions for a 7-inch scale figure. And then another Hasbro figure for another type of 6-inch figure. Here is a G.I. Joe Classified, so a Cobra Bat. And then lastly, we'll do another 7-inch scale figure. So here is a Masterverse figure from Mattel, the titular He-Man. So this guy is huge. I mean, there's really no other way to describe him. He's easily one of the biggest figures in the line outside of Chrome Dome. You're going to be hard-pressed to really find much else that towers over this guy. So he's got a huge amount of size and is going to have, specifically with this super bright yellow paint job, a tremendous shelf presence. And then as far as accessories goes, this guy doesn't really have a lot. Like there's a decent amount, but it's nothing crazy. There's really not a lot in here that I truly feel like I need. I really bought him because of the figure itself, but we do get a few things. So we get the sort of control device that they use for him. So of course this is an episode that has human Baxter and Shredder controlling these things. So I have a feeling, you know, that might be a little hint that we could be getting human Baxter sooner rather than later. I do believe that was his last appearance as a human too, so it might tie things together if NECA wants to give us Baxter. There's a lot of detail all over this thing. I don't know if you're really going to need it or not. You know, you can give it to Shredder, give it to the transformed, mutated Baxter if you really want to, but you've got the control device. We've got a UFO pizza box, which of course looks, you know, very bland and cartoony, but of course that's a good thing. So you've got the logo there, and then inside, which, because this thing is hinged, which is pretty awesome on its own. It's hinged. You've got a pizza because of course it's a pizza monster. So, you know, lock that thing in this guy's jaws. And then lastly, we do get another of the baby pizza monsters. So you get the orange ones that are super tiny. They're just little slug static figures. But, you know, if you get enough of them, you can army build this guy too. So I do like the fact that it's included. Not something I necessarily needed. I do believe it's the same one that came with whichever one that was before April. Maybe, I can't remember at this point. I don't even know where it is right now. Packed up somewhere. But it's cool that we do get it. So there's a lot of stuff in this box in general. Like it's a pretty full pack. I don't know that any of this stuff is truly necessary outside of just the figure, but I'm never going to complain about getting some of this weirder, more esoteric stuff when it comes to this line, because of course that is one of the bread and butter hallmarks of the Turtle Toon line. So yeah, overall, very happy with this guy. Realistically, the only issue I have with him is that I'm finding the ankle rockers specifically to be very tricky, very gummy almost, and they just have a lot of resistance to them. The hinge works just fine. I haven't any real reason to believe I'm going to break my feet off or anything, but I'm trying to be more cautious with this guy. Otherwise, I think it looks fantastic. It moves really well. Otherwise, you know, there is a ton of dynamic posing ability just in that head and neck alone. It does come with a solid, if not small, array of accessories, but some of it's pretty good. Like a nice pizza box and pizza isn't anything to turn your nose up at. And frankly, this is just a really fun, really cool looking figure. It's very cartoony. It's very big. It moves well. It's got a crazy, striking design. And it's just a lot of fun to play around with. I'm really enjoying this one. So that's going to do it for this look at the NECA Toys Ultimate Pizza Monster. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And until next time.